Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to In the Ladies' Room with Nikki and Michelle. How is everyone on this cold January evening? We have a lot to cover this evening, so we hope that you will all come into the room.
Come on in the room.
Please hit like and share. Um, this is going to be a very important topic that we're going to talk about this evening. Good evening, Lisa and Heather. How are you ladies this evening? Tonight's topic is I actually stole the title name from a book I read maybe about 20 years ago called Woman Heal Thyself by Jeannie and Elizabeth Bloom. Um, actually, Jeannie Elizabeth Bloom. I had read her book about 20 years ago along with Queen Afua. I also had a book that I read called Sacred Woman many moons ago. So that's kind of where I got the idea for this topic and the name Woman Heal Thyself, which I thought was kind of cute. But before we actually get started on our topic, again, I invite you to hit like and share. Invite some people into the room with us to have this very important, again, this is an important discussion. So I would like for you to just hit like and share. Excuse me. Let's get some people in the room with us, as well as um, I want you to also be mindful that this topic is kind of sensitive. Some toes may be stepped on, but just remember mine was stepped on first because this is a two-edged sword here that we're going to discuss this evening. But again, before we discuss it, before I throw out all these little statistics, I have to spend just a few minutes talking about I am about talking about yesterday's events.
Woo!
Honey,
I was about to say I thought you was gonna throw me out there. I was gonna say, first of all, can we just talk about Nikki's head wrap?
oh,
Okay. Can we just ladies, can we just discuss Nikki's head wrap first
so
beforehand?
the head wrap was made and designed by my cousin Markel of Markel's Closet. I hope she's joining us this evening. She could put her link on. If not, I'll share it a little later. But
It would be nice if Markel sent me one.
we'll
I'm
talk
just saying.
we'll talk about it later. But of course, we know why the head wrap was inspired. How many of you were just beaming yesterday? Beaming at the inauguration of our first, not only woman, but first Black woman, Asian woman, woman of color, whatever you want to call her, vice president yesterday. And the thing that really got me so stirred was above all of that, guess who stole the show?
Who stole it? Who's
Amanda.
huh?
Amanda
Amanda Groman. What's her name?
Grossman. She stole that show. 22 years old. Now you can't tell me about the brilliance of African American women in this country.
Let me tell you something.
Go, Michelle.
When my girl graced that podium, okay, she gave me every single breath of life that she could muster, honey. She was bomb. Bomb. I don't even have the words. And guess what else? Neither do many of the news people because they've been interviewing her and talking about her. And to just see the reaction of all the news people, they don't even know what to say. They don't even know what to say. They have no words. Because let me tell you something. She stopped that entire inauguration.
Yes, she did.
She captured the entire thing. I mean, everybody was just hanging on her every word. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. I can't stop talking about her.
Me either, because I think for me, what was really so poignant is how eloquently she really spoke truth to power in that poem. The way
Yes,
she
she did.
phrased that poem to let us know that we needed to look at the past and what the past unresolved issues of slavery and racism in this country, how they are festering up right now and causing so much division, and how we could rise as a country, but we're not going to be able to get through or even be perfect or close to perfect if we don't take care of that business. So she was awesome. Somebody said bomb.com. I thought I saw, but she
She
was
was outstanding.
phenomenal
Outstanding. I mean, we could go on and on. We could do a whole show just talking about her.
about
And
her.
I just feel like I think what was most powerful for me, Nikki, and ladies, you chime in too, it was like we felt her.
Right.
We were her, right? In that moment, we were her. She represented all of us in that moment. And it felt so good.
Yes. And then of course we ain't gonna say how Shar, our forever first
My
lady.
sister, my
Yeah,
sister Michelle, my auntie Michelle,
Shar,
okay? From the moment she stepped out of that limousine, hunty,
yes.
okay, she stepped out and said, I'm here.
All eyes were on her. All eyes.
And you couldn't help it and you couldn't take them off.
That's right.
Okay.
So
And guess what? And it was effortless. Like she wasn't trying to shine. She wasn't trying to outshine nobody. She can't help herself.
get
It
that.
is what it is.
I love it.
She
She
couldn't
couldn't
help
help
it.
herself.
She couldn't help it.
Couldn't help herself.
She
So
was sharp. She was sharp.
that's sharp as a tack.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she just commanded your attention just in her presence. Like she didn't have to say a word. She didn't have to look a certain way. All she did was stroll through that place, and everybody, all eyes were on her. I just
They
love
said she's here. The queen is here.
the queen.
The queen is here, hunty. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, she is. And she will take her rightful
it was
place
so.
on the throne.
It was beautiful. That's
It
all
was absolutely beautiful. It just feels good. The whole atmosphere was good. I think everybody stayed in their lane. They played their role. And I think it was a true testament to
right.
what happens when people do, first of all, what they were it's so funny because when we do things at church, pastor would be like, do what you ask you to do, what it says for you to do. If you coming up here to read a scripture, read a scripture. Don't pray. Don't do announcements. Don't do nothing but what you asked to do. And it goes to show when everybody stay in their lane and do what they're supposed to do, how it just goes off without any flaws. And it was just refreshing to see that happen given the last 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. I for one am so happy to be done with the last 4 years. I don't know where to get to.
And then the stark contrast. What's that in the background? The stark contrast between that pale audience last 4 years ago and this audience with such a diverse seating of people. It was just so wonderful to see everybody represented from everywhere and represented not just as a token, but really represented.
Yeah.
It was just refreshing. But we gotta move on to our topic. So again, like I said, ladies, please hit like and share because we have a very important topic to discuss. Woman heal thyself. And Michelle, I don't know what's going on, but I hear a lot of feedback. Is that
It's Biggie. I can't get rid of him.
Biggie? Why are you not in your office today, lady?
He is being ridiculous today.
Biggie is not a lady. He cannot come to the ladies' room.
I know.
Um.
He'll
Okay.
get tired of me in a second.
Okay. All right, Biggie. We're gonna give you a little excuse for now. So anyway, today's topic is very important, and when we think about those awesome African queens that we saw yesterday, I can't help but to think about the journey that we have ahead of us to kind of keep up with the changing times. hold people's feet to the fire on their promises, and make this country a better country. Just doing everything we need to do to help the progress of this country. And my little part. I, I'm a black woman, so of course I'm always thinking in black, but also to really, as black people, progress, to continue to progress in this country. But it's so unfortunate that we really, 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 really cannot do it without our health. There's just no other way to say it except to say, in my opinion, that I really believe that the new revolution for us as individuals and as a people of color is going to have to be paying attention to our health concerns. And I say that from a very uncomfortable place because, I mean, I hate to start the show out all the time with such, I'm trying to find my light here, do something to start, cause get these lights off of my glasses. Anyway, I, I hate to start the show out in gloom and doom, but to keep up with our continuing theme about self-care and women taking care of ourselves so that we could be here for one another, for ourselves, do the things that we want to do in life. And we've been talking in the past 2 weeks about our emotional health, but our emotional health has to be connected or is connected to our physical health. And so, with that said, I almost hated to bring this topic because I don't want anybody to feel bad, but I'm going to list some of the things that I thought of. But as I said before, these things cut me first before they cut anybody else. And when we talked about all the things we talked about last week, we talked about um, ourselves as the total experience of every that we are the sum total of all of our experiences.
Right.
So with that, there was a lot of regret. And a lot of people say, oh well, you shouldn't live with regrets. And I think that sometimes there is room for regret. And the one thing that I do regret, and I'll say it plain and clear, is I treated my body like trash. And this condition that I have now, I don't know where it came from. When I had genetic testing, even though my mother did not walk in her last year of life. She wasn't walking well. She had to have assistance to walk. My grandmother, I'd say in the last 2 or 3 years of her life, she was in a wheelchair. So even though they're saying that my ALS is not genetic, they couldn't find a genetic connection. Who knows where it came from? And what we have to start considering as a people, that not only do genes play a big part of us, of what we are in our physical makeup, but the histories we pass down in the way that we take care of ourselves. So if my mother ate a certain way, her mother ate a certain way, 9 times out of 10, I would also eat that same way. So while I'm not placing the blame on them, because especially now, and this is why I'm doing this show, there is absolutely so much information out there for us to do better. So I told you I read those books, Woman, Heal Thyself, and Sacred Woman, over 20 years ago. And the reason that I'm really saying, or that I have so much regret, is I had the information. I knew what I was doing, and I chose to continually trash my body. And for me, I really don't want to be emotional, but food has been a very bad addiction in my life forever. For as long as I can remember, I just always turned to food, whether it was emotional or I don't even always believe it's emotional. I just like to eat. I have had 2 bariatric surgeries to lose weight. I'm always on this diet, on that diet, and I'm struggling now. I'm always struggling, but I think The struggle is because I I didn't use the information that I knew that I had, and it's really a shame to know something and not do it. Because what good is having knowledge if you don't use the knowledge? And because I treated my body like such trash, I'm not saying that that's what caused what's happening to me, because really the doctors don't know. They don't know. Whenever people get ALS, they never really know where it comes from unless it's genetic. And so, with that said, I don't know if me having those bariatric surgeries caused this. The way I treated my body caused this. But I want us as women to really think about, if we're going to take care of other parts of ourselves, we have to start taking care of our bodies. And some of us are really trashing our bodies the way we eat, with smoking, with excessive alcohol consumption, drug use, toxic relationships that cause us to turn to those other um, vices, lack of exercise, and even lack of access sometimes. So tonight, I want us to really have a serious discussion on ways in which we can get our health back and just do better. Because the statistics, okay, so here's statistics. I was looking at the statistics, and to be honest with you, overall, it's not as bad as you think it is. So the CDC statistics, they say that out of all 100 people, 37% of black males experience excellent health. 36.6 women experience excellent health. And I'm just going to take it all. I'm not going to go the in betweens. I'm just going to take it to the other spectrum, where they say that black males out of that 100 experience 2% of poor health. Black females 2% of poor health, which is kind of even. But here's the real tragedy of it when you get down to it, okay? When I looked at the other races of people, black people as a whole, compared to other races, we experience 2.9%. White people experience 1.8%, and Asian 2.1%. The only other people who are doing so much worse than we are, which they have been done by this whole country so much worse than us, is American Indians, and they experience 5.7% of poor health. Of that, even when you look at things like pregnancy and disease, we experience higher rates, except for American Indians, in every category. And uh, mortality from pregnancy, we experience higher rates of mortalities from pregnancies than any other race. Only thing is, I didn't really like that CDC statistic because they combined us with American Indians instead of giving separate. So that's why I didn't give you this breakdown. But just know that it is higher. And so when you consider that and all the disparities in healthcare for African American women, because I don't know about anybody else, but I've experienced medical apartheid before, where you've gone to the doctor or an emergency room or hospital and you were treated so much worse than white counterparts. So I just want us to have that conversation. I hate to open up so down, but it's been on my spirit, it's been on my heart, and I want us to really have a conversation about taking back our health and what we think it means to the revolution and being around to, like, for instance, I'll just give you, and I'm gonna let you go, Michelle, but I just want to say this, and this is why it's important to me. in this condition, sitting here talking to you is about all that I could do. Everything else I have to have help for. I had to move in with my sister because I can't do a lot of things on my own. I can't open up my own water bottle. I always have to have somebody open up my water bottle before I can drink. I could barely do anything on my own. So to be out marching in the streets or being able to get involved with a lot of these campaigns or do the things that I used to do, I can't do anymore. And if we don't take care of our health, we won't be able to do it either. So I'm sorry that I put all of that on you, but I felt like it needed to be said, and we need to really start addressing it. And then we'll talk about ways in which we can address it.
Well, I think first of all, thank you for sharing, right? Because we always want to make sure that we create a safe environment for all. We say it week after week after week. That's what this room is about. A place that we could come together and share our thoughts and our feelings and our experiences as we go through this journey. And I think to your point, I think the place that you ended up really getting to is the distinction between the healthcare that we typically receive as African Americans when we seek help versus our, let's say, Caucasian counterparts. I think that's where we see the largest disparities. But overall, I believe that your message is clear. And I don't think that is falling on deaf ears because I know many people who have, gotten into this whole workout regime. And I know a lot of people who are starting to eat clean and being healthy. And, I've never heard so many people talk about keto and, eating clean and vegan diets and trying all these vegan recipes. People are even sharing on the internet. So I think that it's one of those, I think it's something that we are all clear about. I think that is unfortunately a lot bigger too, right? Because I always find it so interesting, and I've had this conversation with a few people before. Our grandparents and great grandparents and great, I mean, they ate lard. All the things that people tell us is no good, they ate lard. They ate everything with butter and fat, everything that they say we shouldn't. And they were fine. My grandmother was 95. My great grandmother was in her hundreds. I mean, they lived long, prosperous lives. And I take for example my mother. My mother was the healthiest person I knew. She loved greens and vegetables, and she walked and she exercise. Like she loved water. I mean, these weren't things she did even for being healthy. These were things that she liked. So I think it's one of those situations where, while yes, you have to be mindful about it, I think we also have to consider that we're not eating the same food that our grandparents ate. Okay, so that's working against us. Sometimes everybody can't afford to eat. You ever try to go to the supermarket and buy healthy things? You go broke. I mean, we do the best that we can, but you could go broke. But meanwhile, they're selling, 80 cans of Vienna sausage for $1. And when you're trying to make a living, when you're trying to survive and you have families, you do what you can. So I think what's important is that we have to try and find that balance. We need to be mindful and we need to be aware. So I don't think you could beat yourself up for the choices. The great Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And as we grow and as we evolve and we find ourselves in these places, we do what we need to do in order to live our best life, as they say. But I think we all get it. We all understand it. And we all have our own personal struggles, whatever they may be. I think that's a big part of the conversations we've been having all these weeks, is that we've had to find ways to cope and deal with it. And we've decided that being able to talk about it and share our stories and share our experiences is one of the ways that we're choosing as a more healthy way to address certain things, instead of, like you were describing earlier, having a pity party somewhere, sitting down to, a cake or whatever. So yeah, so I think it's a lot of components It's a lot of components, and we all are really out here just trying to do that the very best that we can to make sure that we live our best life, because we know we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do, and we got to be here to do it. So
Yes, Lord, we do. And I think what I was really upset with myself is that I knew better because I know I've talked about how I grew up in the Nation of Islam, and they used to have what we used to go to MGT, which is called Muslim Girls in Training. And in those classes, even as a very young person, they were teaching us how to eat because you know the Nation of Islam has I don't know if it's Elijah Muhammad's book or not, but I just remember, and they still have that book out, How to Eat to Live. We were trained to do those things, but in my own, I don't know, I can't say ignorance because I knew better, but I chose to do the wrong thing. But I'm not saying that to beat up on myself or anybody else, but what I'm saying is this. We also have to learn how to create groups or supports that help us to live and do better. Because it's so easy not to do better. You know, because if everybody is eating this way and everybody is doing this and nobody is exercising and nobody is drinking the water, it's easy to fall along right along with that and do that. You know,
it's
it's
like Nicole said, we all do it.
right.
We all do it, and I don't know why. I feel like, well, you know, you and I have had this conversation many a times offline. I always feel like you are so overly critical of yourself.
Mhm.
Um, and in a lot of ways I get it, and I think in a lot of ways I don't. And you know, it's like, you know, we live and learn, and when you know better, you do better. I already said that, right? So you make certain adjustments. But come on, at some point it gets to the place where if you can't indulge every now and then, if you can't enjoy yourself, then what are we here for, right? So it's about finding that healthy balance.
The balance. See,
It's
that's
the
the
balance.
thing. I
It's
don't
the
have.
balance.
I'll admit. I'll be the first person to admit I don't have balance.
Well, that's the part then that you need to
Really,
work on.
yeah, I really am a person that could literally make a whole cake and eat the whole cake by myself. I don't have balance.
Yeah, see,
So you got
well,
to.
first of all, you know, I'm not a sweet person, so that don't really, you know, but I do like food. I tell you, one of the things that I'm experiencing, you know, my church is in the middle of a fast. Like, who praise God, it'll be over Sunday. But I committed myself to doing this fast. My husband and I both are doing this fast. And it's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We don't eat food. We can only have, well, the fast says we can have um fruits and vegetables like during the day, but like real like solid food sit down meals. And it's been a struggle, and I think it's a mind thing, to be perfectly honest, because I'm not really even much of a breakfast person. But every morning since we've been on this fast, I wake up and I'm hungry and I want grits and eggs and sausage, and I'm like, oh, it's after 7 o'clock, I can't. Now I gotta wait until 7 p.m. But I committed myself to it. And so that's where I think it is. I think you have to get into the mind. I think it's the mindset of it, right? So we have to stop telling ourselves when we're miserable, okay, well, I'm going to go eat, or I'm going to do that. We have to really, I think it's about just finding healthier alternatives. And it's not just eating, or it's not just smoking or drinking or drugging or whatever. It's about whatever healthy alternative you could find, because we have to feed not only our bodies but our minds and our spirits, and all of that goes hand in hand. I think it also has a lot to do also as we've gotten older as women. um you know, we eat differently. Like, I like good food. I'm a foodie. I really should have been a critic, is what I should have been. I should have been one of those
That
people
would have
that,
been. You know,
whew,
that would have been a perfect job for y'all.
it really would, because I like food. I like everything about it. Like, I like
Me too.
textures and taste and sauces and the science of it, how it's done. And you know,
Uh,
listen, I made for dinner the other night. egg foo yum. Because I haven't been we haven't been going out. Had a taste for some egg foo. I'm like, how hard could it be? It's eggs. Cut up some shrimp. I had some scallions. And it's interesting to me how when you get into doing it for yourselves and seeing how it's made, that in and of itself could be an alternative because you can make healthier choices with it. Um, I don't necessarily like to cook, but I do like to eat.
Right.
I also made a bread pudding the other night.
Oh,
Um,
now you know green bread pudding.
yes, but I had a piece of it.
Mhm.
I had a piece of it. Isetta and Angie came over the other day, and I had a piece of it. And but like, it's like I have a sweet tooth here or there, and I taste something, but then I don't have to indulge and eat it every day or whatever. So it's just about finding those balances.
Not only eating, but people do many other bad things that add on to bad eating. I think that's the difference between the older people eating fat and etc. living long, and us doing the same and not necessarily living as long as I guess. You got cut off, Landy?
No, I think what she's saying is, maybe that's part of the difference. And, yeah, they did all these things, but we also add to it. So, again, it really kind of feeds into what I think I was saying, which was about really just finding the balance and acknowledging the fact that we live in a very different time. It's funny because we talk about, are you frozen? I think she frozen. But anywho, um, I lost my train of thought. Oh, it goes back to, in as much as, they ate those things, we also living in, I forgot what I was getting ready to say, y'all. Nikki got me all jacked up. And she got the control, so I don't know how I'm going. All right, y'all. So just keep talking until we get all these technical difficulties worked. The pandemic has caused all of us to reflect on what areas of lives we can improve on. Wait, what? The pandemic has caused all of us to reflect on what areas of our lives we can improve, address in the way of healthy eating being, yeah, because we have nothing to do but just to sit back and think about what a mess we in and how we could do things differently. I think the pandemic put a lot of things in perspective. I'm trying to move this line, but I ain't doing a good job. I think the pandemic really put a lot of things in perspective for a lot of people because we had nothing but time on our hands to sit back and really reflect on and think about what changes we could be made. I think it got scary even because I think people started to feel like, wow, what if this is what if this is it? What if this is all there is? What have I done? It's all about that kind of reflection. So we just have to be more considerate. We clearly have to start thinking for ourselves. We have to start advocating for ourselves. We have to start making sure that our interests are being met. We can't take no for an answer when you start going to these doctors and they start telling you, well, you're fine and you're this. If you feel in your gut that something is going on, get a second opinion and a third opinion and a fourth if it's necessary. We can't just succumb to whatever it is that people are telling us because we know better. We know better. So we definitely need to make sure that we are advocating on our own behalf and not sitting back and waiting for somebody else to do it for us. Let me see if I can find some more. Landy said, even healthy things, too much of it can be bad for you as well. Yeah, again, it's all about the balance. The balance. Martina said, we have the power to take more responsibility for our own health. We just have to have the will to be proactive and own our own health. But like you said, Michelle, when you know better, you do better. So we have to go off past failures and frustrations and focus on things we can control from here on out. And again, there's so much of it. Nikki sending me messages. There's so much of it, but it's even got to do with politics, right? Making people accountable, making sure that the fairness is being spread out across the board. So, yeah, Nicole. Nicole said it's a situation where they say, if I knew then what I know now, dot, 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 dot. Yeah. Ain't that hindsight is 2020. There's another one. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Um, so where Martina said doctors can give us advice and vital info, but we should know our bodies better than anyone. I've read something that hits me. The huh?
I'm so sorry.
Wait, hold on. I'm reading a comment. So that his the answers you need to live a healthy life are found within you, not externally. Thank you, Martina. That's basically where I was going with those comments also. Nicole Frost, hey Nicole. Nicole Frost Brown said, it's hard. I went to a nutritionist and they told me that I don't eat enough, but in my mind, I eat when I'm hungry. And most people know that I cook a lot of different things. And a
And
lot of
very
times
well.
and a lot of times I don't even eat all of the things that I cook. So now I'm trying to eat every few hours. But honestly, I just think my weight gain comes from this sadness of my dad and him getting sick and dying. And I'm just trying to like work my way through it, trying to be there for my mom. Yeah, that's a struggle too. I still have moments of, I was just sharing with Nikki last week. I was feeling like I was depressed and I'm not an eater though. Like I'm the opposite. When I'm depressed or not feeling good or whatever, I tend not to eat, which is not good either. Some people will tell you you have to do, what do they call that? Intermittent fasting. That's another thing I've been hearing about. I don't know. I think you just have to figure out what's best for you, what works for you. Nicole said you are what you eat. Your mindset has to do with it as well. You are what you eat. Nicole said meditation helps also.
So sorry about that. I blew a fuse.
It's blown.
Well, it's back on now, but it was blown. Oh, I'm so sorry because I'm in here. I have to turn my regular heater off, and then I plug this other heater in, and it just blew.
I was talking and I looked at the screen. I said, "Are you frozen?"
Oh, it's gone.
And you was child. You was gone. I said,
Um,
"Oh my god."
I'm so sorry about that, dear people. But yes, I'm sorry about that. Now, whose comment were you reading last?
I think I read a bunch of Nicole said she eats too many sweets. I never noticed Nicole eating a lot of sweets, especially
Oh,
when I'm.
Nicole's a candy junkie.
Is she?
But Nicole don't eat at all. She don't really eat a lot. So anyway, I didn't really want to just stay stuck on just food because it's not just food. It's all the bad habits that we do to kind of trash ourselves that don't allow us to have full self-care. And so when you think about that, my thought was this is that for me, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's always been a struggle and it's so very hard. But I think one of the reasons that it's hard is because when you really want something, you almost have to create an atmosphere around it. Um, like look, cause I've been to countless. I used to go to Overeaters Anonymous. I done been to countless things, and one of the things they tell you is that when any habit you have, whether it's cigarette smoking, drug use, overeating, because you could exercise too much too. But any habit you have, you create rituals around it. so that that ritual makes it more comfortable or more enjoyable. So, like for me, one of my biggest rituals was when I used to eat or overeat or overindulge, I always had to do it in front of the television. And still now, whenever I eat, it's always in front of TV. So they tell you if you don't want to do that, you have to break up that ritual and eat someplace else, like eat at the kitchen table, or just break up the routine. Instead of when you eat, people who smoke, they have to have a cigarette after they eat. So instead of you know smoking after you eat, find something else to do after you eat, because it's not just about doing the thing, it's the whole ritual you create around it. So in my mind, and this is my thought, I don't know where I got it from, but it just made sense to me that if we created rituals around bad habits, that we needed to learn how to create rituals around good habits. So I was just wanting to throw it out there to people, like what are some of the things that they do to do better and be better. Maybe we could share with each other. Because everybody knows that we need to drink more water, get more exercise, eat more vegetables, get more rest. We all know these things, but how do we make them become a part of our lives? How could we do that or support each other, or maybe even create change partners for each other? Because me and what's her name, me and Stacy, we were supposed to be change partners a long time ago, but it didn't work out. Right, Stacy, if she's listening. But anyway,
So I
so
think I think the answer. What's happening?
I don't know. You see something happening?
No, I thought I was hearing feedback. So I think the answer to that is you just do it. And I know that sounds really, really simple, but that's the answer. You just do it. You do one little thing, or as they say, one step at a time. So I read a post yesterday on one of my work websites, and it was about the power of the tongue. Something we already know, right? For those of us that grew up in church, you've heard things like, the tongue is a double-edged sword and all that kind of stuff. But there really is so much power in words. And this is not the first week that we've been talking about it. We've been kind of introducing it as a point in so many of our conversations around how we have to speak over ourselves. We have to speak life into each other. We have to speak positivity. And then it came to a culmination, even as I was watching the young queen, the young sister at the inauguration and subsequent interviews, because now, she's piqued everybody's interest. She's trending on social media and all that kind of stuff. And one of the questions that one of the interviewers asked her was around how does she prepare for doing, reciting one of her poems or giving speeches or whatever. And she really basically said that she speaks mantras to herself.
Right, she sure
Because
does.
even somebody said, "Do you say them out loud?" And she made a joke about, well, depend. Normally she would, but at the inauguration, she didn't want to be found talking to herself. Have people think she crazy. But the point that I'm making is that's what it's all about. So whether it's talking positivity to yourself, speaking positivity to others, it's about just doing one thing at a time. Will turn into two things and three things, and you just do what you need to do to feel good, to feel better. And that is, physically as well as mentally, emotionally, because that's what I have to do now. When I start feeling down, I have to literally talk myself out of it. And one of the things that's so interesting, what I've been finding is that, a lot of times other people can't do it. People will tell you, oh, you got to do this, and I know everybody means well, and I do. I get, and I appreciate it. But people will tell, oh, you got to get up, Michelle. You got to get out the house. You got to get out the bed. That don't work for me. And I pray, you know, but then sometimes that works. Sometimes I feel like that doesn't. So at some point, you have to dig deep within yourself to make changes. to make change happen. But one of the most important things that I think I've learned is you just can't beat yourself up about it.
Cole says repetition.
Repetition, write it down. Write down what you want to accomplish within the course of your day. An hourly agenda, make yourself accountable, put yourself on a regimen. It's interesting that you say that because I'm sure you saw it. I think Tiffany was in here one day. She had posted it on Facebook.
Mhm.
It's that huge, anybody seen it? That huge water bottle. I took it to work and lo and behold, we go in pandemic. But I was on this mission to drink more water.
And
And I
every
took it to work. It's huge. But what the reason that I liked it was because it told you basically within the hour, okay, you should be here. So at 9 o'clock, you drink this much. 10 o'clock, you drink this much. 11 o'clock, you drink that. So whatever works. So to your point, we find rituals and we find different ways to go about doing things. But it almost became a bit of a game, right? Like, so every time I looked at that bottle on my desk, I knew where I needed to be with my water drinkage. I mean, I stayed in the bathroom most of the day, but it was what it was.
right. So I'm inspired by other experiences. I read stories all the time. I say to myself, if so and so can do it, I can. Actually, I can. I envision myself healthy and set personal goals. I kind of do that too. Like think about, if they could do it, then I could do it. You always have that thing in the back of your mind. Um, but I'm just with some things for me, it's just a little harder than others. So, yes, that's
But that's okay, and that's my point. That's the point that I think we all trying to make it. Some things come naturally. Some things are easier for others. Some people are inspired by certain things. Like it all varies, and that's okay. That's actually the beauty of it, if you ask me.
yep. It starts with the first step. Exactly, that's true. You have to do the first step. So, first steps are easy for me. It's that second and
The
third.
longevity, because you have to be committed to. But see, that's where the mind part comes in, right? Because think about resolutions. January 1st, the gyms be packed.
Yes.
you know, Everybody start ramping up those gym memberships. It used to be not Jacqueline. What was the one they had in Clifton? I remember I bought one. I had a Bally's when Bally's used to be on 46. I think it was in Clifton, 100 years ago, honey.
They
And
still
yeah,
have I knew it was in Clifton. I never joined Joey's.
my point is, I was going to the gym. I had to get a whole outfit because I got to have an outfit for everything. So I
But
had
let
got
me just say though, that works. That works.
what?
Because that's like I said, creating a ritual around it. Like you get the outfit and you get it and you
Yeah, but guess what? That bag, that gym bag, and that outfit, and them sneakers, and everything else is in a box somewhere in my garage right now. Okay, and if you asked me to go get it right now, I probably couldn't find it.
I
And it
remember
was all, but that's where the mind part comes in, right? Because it was all good for a minute,
minute.
and then
But it's so funny you say that because I remember that was I like to exercise. That's why I can't believe that God did this one to me. I like to exercise, and exercise was really the only way that I could really keep my weight down. And I remember when Biggie's album came out. What's that one? Life or Death. Child, and that's when we used to have the big CD player, portable CD players.
don't date yourself, Nikki. Don't date yourself out here. Okay,
That's what I did. I
you may
bought
as well have said an 8-track tape.
yes. I bought me some gym clothes. Child, I lost 40 pounds going to the gym, and I went not every day, but I went it more than 2 or 3 times a week because I really enjoyed it. But I created a ritual around it. I made sure that I went at this time after school. I mean, after work, whatever I did, I created a ritual, and that's what works for me. Rituals really work for me.
Shalane said, and you was a dancer. That was my workout. That
I
was
love to
my
love to dance.
workout.
Yep. You want to read Rashida's or you want me to read it?
Rashida said, we are our own biggest critics, but at the same time, we have to be our own biggest fan. Make a plan and take steps to accomplish it. Surround yourself with like-minded, positive people. Of
So
course.
true. That's true. And I think that we all have to kind of get in our mind self that part of our self-care has to be, like you said, Michelle, talking to yourself and talking to yourself as if you are your own biggest fan. That's a good one. What you laughing at, Kim?
And be okay with yourself, Like, don't be so critical. Yeah, we did dance, Nicole. Me and Nicole was the dancing queens, honey, and the clubs. Oh, yes, we was.
Yes, I miss that. That's the one thing that I do miss.
I
Is
mean, I would come out of the club soaking wet.
me too. Here,
Yeah,
soaking wet, clothes soaking wet.
yeah,
And didn't even understand why we would get dressed up to go to the club because we danced.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
So,
a lot of things. Now, I couldn't even, but I couldn't even stand to go to a club right now. I don't even know if it's the same.
uh, I I I would assume so. I haven't been to a club in so long.
I was just reading that. And Octavia, tell us more about that. Self-care is also respecting your own boundaries.
Well, I mean, I want you to clarify, Octavia, but what I'm getting out of that is clearly is when you set boundaries for yourself and whether you allow other people to move those boundaries or you do them yourself, that is a setup for a failure because that's I do that. I mean, I'm not trying to be critical of myself, people. I'm just examining so you can see even through my eyes how we have to. This thing is moving around on me. How we could kind of do better and be better.
Hmm.
For me, like I'm on a cleanse right now. I've been doing okay with the cleanse, not as good as I want to, and I'm not beating myself up about it either. I'm really not. But I do tend to move my boundaries. Like I'm not supposed to have um dairy on this cleanse. I just ate a slice of pizza. I wasn't supposed to do that. So I have to really kind of learn how to stick to the boundaries I set for myself. I do. I do.
How much of that is discipline, self-discipline?
Oh, that's a big part of it. I don't really with food. I have discipline in a lot of areas. You know that, Michelle. There's not a lot that you can do without discipline. But the one area for me is food, and even liquor. I drink way more than I need to be drinking. So that's to me that's a discipline thing.
Octavia, you look amazing, by the way, Octavia. I saw your post the other day. I was like, girl, bye.
Yes,
You
you
and
are.
your sister making me mad out here in these streets.
I just can't get over how grown up her sister is. Ooh, I
Both of them, they was my babies.
but at
They
least
grown
I
wet, honey.
remember the sister being a little girl, but she's so grown
Well,
now. Like
because they came to the group when we had the group at the house. They was all a part of the group. They was what, 15?
no, but I remember the her little sister being younger than 15. So
Yeah, well, they was all young because that was they was all around G's age. Yeah,
mhm.
incredible,
Yeah, but anyway,
incredible.
we have to move on. I have to say, ladies, walking does
Does
wonders.
wonders for my mind and body.
Yep.
But a plant-based diet gives me life beyond compare. I feel so light internally and have better mental clarity.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I've been trying. Well, that's what I'm doing now for this cleanse. Is plant based. Except I ate that bread and that cheese today. But I'm
I've
gonna.
never had I've never had a Beyond Burger.
Oh, delicious.
That's what I keep hearing.
Delicious. Delicious. You know what else is really good if you like sausages? Field roasts make Italian sausages that are delicious, but they made from eggplants. It's not meat.
And one of my coworkers just put a post on. She's in Georgia. She put a post on. She does this with her whole family. They go through meatless weeks where they don't eat any meat, and it's not the extended period of times, but like she finds recipes. Like I think she posted some sort of something with mushroom. That's what just made me think about it when you mentioned it. Something with mushrooms, and she was like, I don't know why it. I didn't even miss the meat, basically. So apparently there are things out there that you could eat. Nicole Willis said, "What's a Beyond Burger?" It's basically it's a burger, but it's not meat. It's grass, right?
No, it's made. It depends on who's making it, because sometimes they make it out of soy, or sometimes they make it out of plants. Like some people make it out of what's jackfruit. With jackfruit, they make it. Or
Oh, which I had never even heard of, but my sister-in-law is completely vegan. And
yeah,
when she comes to visit, she makes us a lot of vegan food too. And I have to tell you, she made a some sort of pasta Alfredo the last time she was here, and you couldn't tell it was no like it was delicious.
they make the cheese with nuts and different things. It's good. Even the burgers with mushrooms. It depends on
Yeah,
who.
she made a cheese spread out of peanuts or something. And ask Izetta Nicole, she tasted it. You couldn't even tell it was delicious.
Mhm. Yeah, I buy the mac and Yeezy from this black company. This black guy
Not
started.
Mac and Yeezy.
Yeah,
Is that what it's called?
mac and
I
Yeezy,
couldn't eat that because I would be thinking about Kanye.
but it's not Kanye. It's not his. It's delicious. It don't really taste like the kind of back baked macaroni and cheese that we would make.
Normally eat.
Right, but it's good. It's a nice substitute, and like you really would not miss macaroni and cheese if you could have that. So it's
Now I wonder how Martina eats on the road. That must because huh?
especially vegan. Read Octavia's because she's answering your question.
When we set boundaries for ourselves and respect them, we won't allow others to overstep them.
Mhm.
Well, Octavia, you wasn't never the type of person let nobody overstep no boundaries, Hunty, when it came to
Well,
you.
that's why she's telling us. She giving us her
Yeah.
hearing life.
I have to say I always liked and respect that about her. You always knew who and what she was about, and she stood on it, and it was what it was, and she didn't compromise that for anybody. So kudos to you on that, Octavia. That always stood out to me.
Yes. So I'm trying to move down boundaries. The Beyond Burger. Where we at? Oh, so yeah, that's it. The mac and cheese. Oh, somebody who Facebook users. I'm so sorry, but oh Mac and Yeez. You're right. Facebook
Mac.
user, please. If it says Facebook user by your name, please identify yourself, because for some reason,
Well,
when
I told you if they go on StreamYard, they just have to say it's okay to show their name.
yeah, because I don't know who it is to attribute your comments to, but I think is it let's see if I could figure it out. Because sometimes I could look over here and see. But I don't know if it's Karen or Denise. I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, the mac and yees. It is called mac and yees, and that's how it's spelled with the YESYEASE. But
He's
it's very good.
it's Datril. It's your son.
How you know? Oh, okay. I see it. Okay, yeah. So mac and yees. That's it. Shut up, Michelle. But yeah, so it's the mac and cheese. It's good, and they make a bolognese sauce that is plant based. It is delicious. In fact, I can't wait to order it again and try and make myself a plant based lasagna with it. I'm gonna try that.
Oh, you know what else is bomb? Vegetable lasagna.
Yes, vegetable lasagna is very good too. Yep. So that's that. We've run out of time already. But before we actually say goodbye, I just want to throw out some of the beautiful hints we got. We got, okay. creating the boundaries, right? We got that from Octavia. Drink more water, eat more vegetables, get that exercise in, get that rest. Martina said walking. The plant-based diet is helping. Find support. I would even say I think that I'm gonna try even myself. I'm gonna create a SWOT analysis for myself. I'm sure that anybody who
What
works,
is that?
I was going to say anybody who works in corporate ought to know what a SWOT analysis is. A SWOT analysis is just a write up of your strengths, your weaknesses,
Oh,
your outcomes, or some people say outcomes or objectives, and some people even say your treatment or your uh, turnout, or not your treatment, your what
outcome.
outcomes. So that's what I'm gonna kind of create for myself to see if I could do better at managing my at least my diet. I think that's the one area that I really have to work on. When we started this afternoon, I talked about, I think that was one of the real regrets of my life. Things that happen in your life, they happen in your life, and you use them a lot of times to make you stronger. So you don't necessarily look back with regret, because they are what made you what you are. But this one thing about not really recalibrating and really sticking to a better way of treating my body, it is for me a regret. And I don't want it to be a regret for any other people, especially if it's some younger women listening. When you're in your 20s, because when you're in your 20s and you young, you don't feel nothing. But when you get 40, baby, the eyes start going. Everything it just gets different. And trust and believe, when it start getting different, it's hard to pull back. The menopause start hitting, um, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, so I just wanted to throw out, let's all do something. Even if you don't totally change your diet, do one thing. So maybe drink an extra glass of water a day, or walk an extra few steps a day if you can walk. Do whatever it is, because the revolution is going to be in our health and taking care of ourselves. Because if we're not here to sustain, trust me, politics is not even going to matter. So, Michelle, any last words?
Don't forget to straighten your crowns, ladies.
Yes. Look.
We got to revisit that question. I was supposed to find out who did it this week, but I didn't. But we'll do it next week.
Oh, that's right. We were supposed to go. We'll revisit. We're gonna revisit a lot of stuff, because I think that I would love to stay on the topic of self-care for quite some time, because really we can't pull each other up if we're not strong enough. So we got to get ourselves together, take care of ourselves, so we can pull our sisters up. And then pulling our sisters up, we pull our race up. And pulling our race up, we pull humanity up. Because you know what they say. If you want the world to know something, to be something, show it to a Black woman first, and she'll show the world. How about it, right?
Okay, how about it? Now that's the way you end the show.
Okay.
Okay.
How Cardi do it? I can't.
Okay.
I can't.
All right, my ladies. Oh,
Okay. That's how she do it? Okay. I can't do it.
yes.
Anyway, ladies, it was so beautiful to have you with us for this hour. We are sorry that we were like a minute late, but we are running over, so we made up for it. But we thank you, because we know you could be spending your hour doing anything else in the world, and you chose to hang out in the ladies' room with Nikki and
Hi, Kim McKinney.
we love you for it, and we hope that you will come back next week and bring a friend.
Being a friend, phone a friend.